Next, Beth Sitaula is going to give us a short presentation on Nepal. Please give a round of applause for Beth Sitaula.
Thank you. As they said, my name is Beth Sitaula, and the conveners asked me to give a short presentation about Nepal from the perspective of someone who is, of course, an outsider originally, but has then gotten to know the culture more than many visitors to Nepal. I've been going to Nepal since 2000. I've had 8 trips there. What took me first there was geologic research, but then on the 3rd trip I met and married my husband Ajay, who's sitting in the back there with our 2 kids. So now, of course, we have family reasons to go back. A little bit of perspective on where Nepal is. It is, and I'm sorry I can only do the pointer on one side, but anyhow, here is India and the Tibetan Plateau, China, and so Nepal is the middle of the Himalayan mountains, right between India and China. The capital, Kathmandu, is here, and of course the most famous feature, the tallest mountain in the world, known to many people as Mount Everest, but locally as Sagarmatha. So what would that, how big is that really? Can we put that into perspective for something around here? If you take Nepal and you rotate it sideways and lay it over, Western Washington and Oregon, is actually about the same size. So if the Cascade Mountains were 29,000 feet at the top instead of 14,000 feet, and if the population was about 3 times greater, close to 30 million instead of 9 million, that would give you some sense for the scale that we're looking at there. So it's hard to characterize a whole country and cultures in 8 to 10 minutes. So I tried to think of 3 things that I think are particularly striking to people that visit Nepal. And I have come up with human spirit, a really great diversity in culture and geography, which I think you got some sense for with the fashion show and the different types of dances, and also religious harmony, the coexistence of Buddhism and Hinduism for more than 1,000 years side by side. So, I think it's not unusual for Westerners or non-Nepalese to visit Nepal first for the mountains. I mean, the Himalayas are amazing. And I'm probably an end member example of that since I'm a geologist. I did go there to sample rocks and things like that. But the mountains are amazing. This is Manaslu, as you see from the Gandaki River. This is, as you start to march into the mountains, this is actually Manaslu from another direction. It's just lovely, even in the monsoons when the clouds are covering it. Here's the Annapurna region. But I think as people spend time in Nepal, what they really take away from it is not just the scenery, but the smiling faces and the welcoming namastes of the people that they meet there. 75% of the population in Nepal is still agricultural. Most of the labor outside of the region just along the border with India is human and animal. It is challenging to eke out an existence in especially the high mountain regions. But there's a really strong ethic of finding the joy in life and savoring the good that does come. And I've often felt that there are wealthy but discontented people in other parts of the world that could take this as a lesson, I think, on how to find the joy. And that welcoming visitors is very highly regarded. A little bit about Nepal's diversity. This just gives you a small sense. The colors here are even somewhat simplified. But about half the population speaks Nepali, but there are 8 other major languages, many dialects, and scores of different ethnic groups in this relatively small area. I think a lot of us that come in from the outside, it's all so foreign. When you first get there, it's hard to see some of this diversity, but you do have faces that have come from, you could say, groups from India, other faces that we would associate more with Chinese or Mongolian, and so many in between. And since I'm a geologist, we're going to take a slightly geographic perspective on this. there is India. This is a space shuttle view. So we have India lowlands here. We have the Tibetan and China highlands, and here's Nepal in the middle. If you think about how this wonderful geography got here in the first place, India has been busy plowing its way up into Asia and crushing up these very high Himalayan mountains for the last 50 million years. So geologically, Nepal is both Indian and Asian, and culturally it is the same. We have a lot of the people have come in from India because it's easier to get there, but about 10% of the population is from other parts of Asia. Thinking more about the diversity a little bit more, we have a really strong weather system going. In the summer, this wet, moist air comes in off the Bay of Bengal and it hits the mountains, and as it starts to rise, it drops like copious quantities of rain on the front of the mountains. This is August in a part of Nepal that gets nearly 5 meters of rain, so that's like 16, 17 feet of rain per year. You can walk for about 4 days, because there's no road yet. Soon there will be. Go about 30 miles away and it's completely arid. So you can imagine why you would end up with different cultural influences with such diversity. This is a Google Earth image to try to show you how deep the valleys are and how high the ridges are in between. And even in the lower hills, you can have 2 groups, one next to each other, one valley over, but they can develop pretty different cultures and languages because it's just hard to get back and forth. Even now with the road system, there's many places that you still have to walk to. And you might have to walk in areas like this, so you can see why it's challenging to get around. And finally, looking at religion. Religion pervades the everyday life in Nepal. It's really striking. This is a Hindu mandir, a Hindu temple. Also found in Kathmandu, a number of Buddhist temples, and they have coexisted, as I said at the beginning, side by side. In many cases, even sharing sacred sites. This is a sacred site called Muktanath, where it's been a pilgrimage site for more than 1,000 years by both religions. And I think it really can serve as an example for how to have respect. Nepal has had its share of social inequality and political issues, but religiously they've really done a good job of living side by side. So those are my 8-minute reflection on Nepal. The human spirit, I hope everyone gets a chance to visit. The rich diversity, even in such a small area, and the inspiring religious harmony. Thank you.